My name is Alexander Clark. I graduated from the University of Texas School of Law with a Doctor of Jurisprudence. And my current job title is law clerk to U.S. District Judge Lee Yeakel. I think that the best advice I've gotten in general is about keeping perspective. And I think it can look a couple different ways, both in the immediate term for just doing well in law school, but also for your career beyond your time at school. And what I mean is, you got to keep things in their proper place and think long term instead of just immediate short term. So within a semester, even that can apply. If you are stressing out and you're going full tilt every single day at the very beginning of the semester, you are going to burn out and you're going to get sick and your body's going to run down. And when you most need it, your mind is not going to be operating at full cylinders. Me and some friends, when we started the Texas Law Veterans Association, we made it a point our first year to actually go to the gym when we didn't have to, right? We weren't in the military at the moment, but we had the early wake up time, and we went and we worked out because we were taking care of ourselves first. And lo and behold, it really paid off, because I think for people who didn't make the time to take care of themselves, when finals rolled around and the stress ramped up even more, they weren't prepared for it because they had just been neglecting exercise, nutrition, all that, sleep, all the things that are important, but you tell yourself you don't need, and it's not true. You still need them. And beyond the semester kind of short-term view, think about the relationships you're building. Everyone in your classroom is smart. Everyone worked really hard to get into law school, and we tell ourselves that if I'm not in the top 10% or whatever it is, and I'm a failure. And that's just not true. I got myself into a headspace going into my first set of finals that I could be the last person in my class and that would be okay. And I meant it. And I think that's what allowed me to not get in my own way and not have that stress bog me down. Luckily I did okay in school. But it's true. Mathematically, someone in your class has to be last. That's how numbers work. That doesn't mean you're a failure. Everyone's going to be great. And you have to think about the way you treat people in school, because they're going to be part of the legal community for the rest of your life. You might burn a bridge by being harsh to someone or being rude that you didn't have to do, and it's not going to pay off in the long run. Sure. So I think my military experience, and honestly before that, doing Teach for America, allowed me to put law school in just perspective, right? Going back to the advice piece, keeping everything in perspective. I loved law school, which is not a popular opinion, but I loved it because it was so much easier than teaching third graders. And, I chose to wake up early a lot of times, but I never had to, because I'd been through basic training when I had to. And so I think just having the choice and having the option and treating law school like a job that I didn't have to take home to with me to like do grading, right, or make calls to parents, allowed me to appreciate it for what it was. The military has this kind of inartful expression, which I think is actually really helpful if you are willing to take it for what it's worth. It's embrace the suck, and law school has plenty of suck. Just embrace it, because when you look back, you're gonna realize that it wasn't as bad as you thought. Especially for the students who are coming in, we call them K through JD, who have never had a job outside of law school, after law school. They're like, man, this is terrible, that my life is so bad. And I'm like, oh, you don't know, man. Just wait till you get to the workforce. And so I'll say that my military experience was helpful in that regard. And in my role in the military as an intel analyst was surprisingly helpful for the kind of carryover in skills, doing research, figuring out ways to explain things more simply. These are all things that are helpful. If you've had any kind of background outside of school, chances are there is a way to apply it in your law school time and also in your legal career. You just have to be creative and thoughtful about how you communicate that. And so the specific career advice I have for students who are veterans and active military, I work with these guys a lot in their applications to law school, and actually just helped one with his applications for a clerkship, is that you have to figure out a way to translate your experience, your background, in a way that people with no familiarity with military culture, military lingo, how communicate that in a way they can understand, because it's a completely different language. It really is. It's an increasingly big divide between civilians and their military counterparts in this country, where less than 1% of the population serves at any given time. That's not to say that your experience isn't extremely valuable. I think I was it was a little easier for me to do it because as a reservist, I kind of had a foot in both civilian and military worlds, but especially for those who have been active for a long time, it's hard to remember that people they're not going to figure out what you're talking about whenever you just put your military resume information directly into a law resume. You've got to figure out a way to translate that because it's a different language. I found that employers of all stripes, whether it's the big firms or for judges or for nonprofits, for the government, they all appreciate anybody who has had work experience outside of law school, but especially those with a military background. So I think there is an unfortunate amount of a lack of confidence in someone who just has a military background that is misplaced. You should be very confident, because what your military background says to these employers is, I'm a real adult. I've had real responsibilities. I know how to wake up early. I know how to have assignments. I know how to respect the chain of command, and I know how to get things done, and you don't have to hold my hand. And so I think that's extremely valuable. And so you should be confident in that, as long as you figure out a way, work with someone who can help you translate it.